Today, we're going to break down the latest quarterly report from the chip giant Intel. And behind all the big numbers, there's this really fascinating story of profit, loss, and a huge, huge bet on the future of AI. So, let's get right into it. All right, let's start with the big one, revenue. Intel brought in $13.6 billion this quarter. Now, that's a pretty solid 7% jump from last year, which, on the surface sounds great. But the real story, the part where things get complicated, starts when we talk about profit. And here is the puzzle. Intel officially reported a loss of $3.7 billion. Okay, but they also claimed an adjusted profit of $1.5 billion. So wait, how can a company lose billions and make billions at the exact same time? Well, the answer is all in how you count the money. To really understand that puzzle, we first have to look at the official scorecard for the quarter. Think of these as the headline numbers that really frame this whole story. What's just so striking here is the contrast. I mean, you see that 7% revenue growth, which is definitely positive. But then you look at the earnings per share, or EPS. The official GAAP number, it shows the loss is actually getting bigger. But at the same time, the adjusted non-GAAP number has skyrocketed by 123%. This isn't just a small difference, it's like a tale of two completely different financial realities. And that's exactly why we need to understand what those adjustments are all about. So let's go ahead and deconstruct those dollars. In this next section, we're going to break down exactly where that $13.6 billion came from, and we're finally going to solve the mystery of those two very, very different profit figures. Okay, so this breakdown of where the money comes from is pretty telling. You've got client computing, that's basically your PCs and laptops, and it's still the workhorse, bringing in most of the cash. But the real story, the one about the future, lies in those other two big chunks, data center and AI, and the Intel Foundry. I mean, these are the engines that Intel is really, really counting on for growth. Which brings us right back to that central mystery. How is it possible for a company to report both a massive loss and a solid profit? The answer isn't about the products they sell. It's all about the accounting rules. So here's the key difference. Think of it like this. GAAP is the official rulebook. It's like the total calorie count of a meal. It includes absolutely everything. Non-GAAP, on the other hand, is an adjusted view. It's kind of like looking at net carbs instead. The company basically removes certain things, like one-time restructuring costs, to argue that it gives you a better picture of its core day-to-day business health. And here is exactly how that math works in the real world. You start with that official GAAP loss of $3.7 billion. Then, Intel makes $5.2 billion worth of adjustments. They take out stuff like restructuring costs and stock-based pay. Once you pull out those so-called one-off items, boom, the loss flips to a $1.5 billion profit. See? It's not magic, it's just accounting. Okay, so now that we've kind of cracked the code on the numbers, let's talk about the strategy that's driving them. It is crystal clear from this report that Intel is placing a massive bet on one thing, artificial intelligence. The company's CEO, Lip Bu Tan, pretty much makes their strategy crystal clear with this quote. The core belief here is that this next wave of AI is going to drive absolutely massive demand for Intel's hardware. They're not just thinking about AI in some giant data center. They're betting on AI becoming a part of everything everywhere, and they want their silicon to be the foundation for it all. So how is Intel actually chasing this AI wave? Well, it's not just about building their own chips in a silo. A really key part of their strategy is to embed themselves deep inside the AI ecosystem by forming major partnerships. And the proof is right here in the partnerships they are forging. They're not just watching from the sidelines. They are becoming essential players. They're working with Google on new processors, and their CPUs are going to be powering NVIDIA's next-gen supercomputers. They're even working with companies like SpaceX and Tesla on the future of making chips. These aren't just press releases, you guys. These deals are placing Intel at the absolute center of the entire AI ecosystem. So this first quarter gives us a snapshot of where things are right now, but what does the road ahead look like? Well, lucky for us, Intel gave its own forecast for the next 3 months. Looking ahead to the second quarter, Intel expects revenue to climb a little bit. But honestly, the most significant part of this forecast is the bottom line. They are predicting a return to profitability, not just on their adjusted numbers, but on the official GAAP numbers too. If that happens, it would be a major, major milestone. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, from revenue and accounting rules all the way to their big AI strategy. So let's boil this entire report down to the most essential takeaways. What do you really need to remember? So if you remember just 3 things from all this, make it these.
First, that top-line growth is solid. Second, the headline loss can be a bit misleading because the core business is profitable, at least by their measure. And third, and maybe most importantly, Intel is going all in on an AI-powered future by teaming up with the biggest titans of the industry.
Which leaves us with this one big final thought. After a really tough few years, Intel is showing clear signs of growth and has this powerful strategy centered on AI. So the question is, are we looking at the very first signs of one of the great corporate turnarounds? Well, I guess only time will tell.